The neighbor who only appears at night. You are about to hear a story that gets worse the moment you try to explain it logically. So before we begin, remember this one detail carefully. The neighbor in this story never appeared during the day. Not once. No deliveries, no footsteps, no lights, nothing. And yet, every single night, someone stood behind the upstairs window of the empty house at the end of the street, watching. Here's the disturbing part. If you pay attention closely, you'll realize the real horror isn't who was inside number 9. It's why the figure only appeared when someone was looking back at it. Because by the end of this story, you're going to understand something very uncomfortable. Some things do not haunt houses, they wait for attention first. Daniel had lived on Crescent Hollow Road for 6 years, and in 6 years, he had learned every rhythm of that street. Which dog barked at 3 a.m., which retiree left for his morning walk before the streetlights died, which houses exhaled porch light through the long Connecticut winters. He knew this street the way a man knows his own heartbeat, so when the house at the end of the lane, number 9, the one with the rusted mailbox and the dead oak splitting the front yard, suddenly showed signs of life one October morning, he noticed a moving truck, 2 men, boxes carried in silence, and then nothing. No one saw the new neighbor, not the retired couples, who catalogued every arrival and departure on that block like unpaid neighborhood watch volunteers. Not the kids who pressed their faces against every fence out of sheer animal curiosity. The house stayed dark through the day. Every curtain drawn, every shutter sealed, every light absent, as though the building itself had decided to stop existing in daylight. Daniel told himself it was nothing. Private people existed, some people worked nights, some people simply did not want to be known. He told himself all of this very carefully, the way a person does when they already suspect the explanation will not hold. It was his wife Claire who first mentioned the window. She said it casually, the way people say things they do not want to admit are bothering them, over coffee, without looking up. She told him she had seen someone standing behind the curtain of the upstairs window at number 9, perfectly still, in the middle of the night when she had gotten up for water. Just a shape, just a silhouette, just a figure that did not move for the entire 3 minutes she stood in the kitchen watching it. Daniel laughed it off, and Claire let him, and neither of them slept well after that. He started watching the house himself. Not consciously, not with intent, but the way the eye is drawn to a wound. He would stand at his own bedroom window in the late hours, telling himself he was just getting air, just checking the street, just existing in his own home. And every night, without fail, the figure was there, same window, same stillness, same curtain barely breathing around its edges. One Wednesday night, at precisely 2:17 a.m., Daniel raised his hand, slow, uncertain, almost embarrassed by his own impulse, and waved. The figure behind the curtain raised its hand and waved back. Daniel did not sleep that night. He sat with the light on and told himself there was a rational explanation, that neighbors wave and that this proved someone was simply living there and he had been manufacturing dread out of ordinary privacy. He almost believed it, until Claire knocked on his study door at 6 a.m. and told him, very quietly, that she had waved at the window figure 2 nights ago. And it had waved back at her too, from inside number 9, while Daniel had also been standing at his own window, watching the same figure. At the same moment, they stared at each other across the study desk and did not say what they were both calculating, that one figure cannot wave at 2 people from 2 different angles at the same time. Daniel went to number 9 that morning. He knocked, he waited, he knocked again, harder, the sound swallowed by the thick morning air. A neighbor passing behind him casually mentioned that no one had moved into that house. The moving truck, she said, had been there to remove furniture. The previous family had abandoned it months ago and the landlord had finally cleared it out. No new tenant, no lease signed, no name on the mailbox. The house had been empty since August. Daniel turned slowly and looked up at the upstairs window. The curtain hung open, pulled aside, and the room behind it was bare concrete and shadow and absolutely nothing else. That he went inside anyway. The landlord had left the front door unlocked during the clearance and never returned to secure it, a detail that felt less like negligence and more like an invitation Daniel had not agreed to accept. Every room was empty, bare floors, stripped walls. The kind of emptiness that feels deliberately performed, as though the space itself is holding its breath. He climbed the stairs to the upstairs room, the one with the window, the one he had stared at for 3 weeks from across the street. The curtain was exactly as he had seen it, pulled open, settled to one side. But the floor beneath the window held something the empty rooms below did not. Dust, thick, undisturbed dust, except for one precise location directly in front of the window, where something had stood. Where 2 parallel impressions were pressed clean into the gray film on the floor. Narrow, deliberate, the unmistakable shape of feet that had stood at that window for a very long time. Daniel stepped back, then he looked across the street. At his own house, at his own bedroom window, where a figure was standing behind the glass, perfectly still, watching him. He ran back across the street and crashed through his own front door and took the stairs in 3 steps and threw open the bedroom door and found nothing. Just Claire asleep and the window empty and the street below silent and ordinary. But on the inside of his bedroom window, pressed into the faint condensation on the glass, were 10 clean fingerprints, from hands that had been pressed against it from the inside, facing out. Facing number 9, watching back.